Her name was Amanda Carter. She was a woman who believed in hard work, big dreams, and second chances. She had grown up in a small neighborhood in Birmingham, Alabama, a place where life wasn't always easy, but it taught her how to fight for what she wanted. Amanda's parents weren't rich. Her dad worked two jobs, one as a mechanic and another fixing cars on weekends. Her mom cleaned offices at night and took care of their home during the day. Money was tight, but love was never in short supply. Amanda learned from a young age that if she wanted something, she had to earn it herself. She was smart. Not just book smart, though she got good grades, but street smart too. She knew how to talk to people, how to listen, and how to make others feel seen. Teachers loved her. Friends trusted her. Even strangers felt comfortable around her. When she graduated high school, Amanda got a scholarship to a university in Atlanta. That was her ticket out of the neighborhood. Not because she didn't love her roots, but because she wanted more for herself and her future family. She studied marketing with a focus on branding and communications. She dreamed of helping other, Black-owned businesses grow and shine. After college, Amanda landed her first job at a major advertising agency. She started small, doing basic tasks like organizing meetings and designing social media posts. But within 2 years, she was leading campaigns for big clients. By the time she turned 30, she was managing a whole team. Outside of work, Amanda loved to travel, cook, and spend time with her close group of friends. She wasn't looking for love, but sometimes life surprises you when you're not paying attention. That's exactly what happened when she met Daniel Moore. Daniel was a white man from a small town in Georgia. He was a chef, passionate about food, and had recently opened his own restaurant in Atlanta. He had a warm smile, kind eyes, and a way of making everyone around him feel at ease. At least, that's what Amanda thought at first. They met at a charity event where Amanda was representing her company and Daniel was catering the dinner. They got to talking over dessert, chocolate cake, which Daniel had made himself, and they laughed so much that night, neither of them wanted the conversation to end. From that moment on, they were inseparable. Daniel told Amanda stories about growing up in the South, learning to cook from his grandmother, and chasing his dream of becoming a chef. Amanda shared her journey, from humble beginnings to rising through the ranks in corporate America. They talked about everything: politics, music, race, relationships, and even marriage. At first everything felt perfect. He was charming, funny, and supportive. He cheered her on when she got promoted. He cooked her favorite meals after long days at work. He held her hand when she cried over bad news or stressful deadlines. It felt like they were writing their own fairy tale. They dated for about 6 months, before Daniel proposed. It was a surprise, on a rooftop in downtown Atlanta under the stars. Amanda said yes without hesitation. Their wedding was beautiful. Family, friends, laughter, dancing, and a delicious meal prepared by Daniel himself. Everyone said they looked happy. And maybe they were, at first. But behind the smiles and the pictures, things weren't always as smooth as they seemed. Even early on, there were little signs that Amanda tried to ignore. Like when Daniel joked about how lucky he was that Amanda could pay for dinners, or when he teased her about being too serious whenever she brought up financial planning. "You worry too much," he'd say. "I'll take care of us." But Amanda knew better than to rely on someone else to carry her weight. She had spent her whole life proving herself, working harder than most, just to get half the recognition. She wasn't about to stop now. Still, she gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was just trying to be sweet. Maybe he was old-fashioned. Maybe she was overthinking. The truth was, Daniel didn't have the same drive or ambition that Amanda did. While she climbed the ladder at work, Daniel struggled to keep his restaurant open. First came layoffs, then came debt, then came the silence between them at the dinner table. He started drinking more, going out with friends late at night. coming home angry about money, about stress, about life. Amanda tried to help. She paid the bills. She covered rent. She offered advice, support, even therapy options, but nothing seemed to fix what was breaking between them. And yet, she stayed. She stayed because she believed in love, because she thought they could work through it, because she thought he would change. But some people don't change until something breaks them wide open. And for Amanda, that moment was still ahead. The night started like any other fancy dinner, except it wasn't just any night. It was Amanda and Daniel's third wedding anniversary, and they had decided to celebrate at one of Atlanta's most expensive restaurants, La Lumiere, a place known for its candlelit tables, French-inspired dishes, and prices that could make even rich people blink. Amanda had dressed up in a deep red dress that made her feel powerful. She wore her hair in soft curls and added a touch of gold jewelry. Daniel wore a suit he hadn't worn in months, one that still fit, but barely. They both smiled as they walked in, arms linked, pretending everything was perfect. They were seated by the window with a view of the city lights. The air smelled like rosemary and grilled steak. Servers moved silently between tables, carrying wine glasses and plates of artfully arranged food. Everything about the night screamed romance and celebration, but underneath the surface, things were tense. Daniel had been quiet all day. He didn't say, "Happy anniversary." He didn't give her a gift. When Amanda asked if everything was okay, he shrugged and said, "I'm just tired." She tried not to let it bother her. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe work was getting to him again. She told herself this was normal. Couples go through ups and downs. She reminded herself why she married him, to love him through good times and bad. The dinner started off fine. They talked about old memories, laughed at inside jokes, and shared a bottle of wine. But halfway through the meal, the mood shifted. Amanda reached into her bag to grab her wallet so she could split the bill with Daniel, as they usually did. But when her fingers searched inside, there was nothing. Her heart dropped. "Oh, no," she whispered. "What?" Daniel asked, sipping his wine. "I forgot my wallet," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "It must still be at home." Daniel looked at her, then slowly put down his glass. His face changed. The warmth in his eyes turned cold. "You're kidding me," he said. "No," she replied. "I can pay you back tomorrow. Just let me text my driver to bring it over, or—" "Unbelievable," he muttered, shaking his head. "Daniel, it's just money," she said. "You know I'll cover it." He leaned forward. "That's exactly what I mean." "What?" "You always cover it." He said the words like they tasted bitter. "Always you." Amanda blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means, we're married, Amanda. We're supposed to be equal. But every time it's your money, your credit card, your name on the lease. You act like I'm some charity case." "That's not true," she said, stunned. "I never said that." "But you live it," he snapped. The table between them felt like an ocean. People around them kept eating, laughing, clinking glasses. But Amanda felt like the room had gone silent. She took a deep breath. "Okay, let's just calm down. I can call someone from home to bring my card. Or I can pay you back first thing tomorrow. It's not a big deal." Daniel stared at her. Then, without warning, he grabbed the dessert plate in front of him, a large slice of red velvet cake covered in thick white frosting, and flung it across the table. Splat! The cake hit Amanda directly in the face. Frosting dripped down her cheeks. Crumbs landed in her lap and on her dress. Gasps echoed around them. A woman at the next table dropped her fork. One of the waiters froze mid-step. For a full 5 seconds, no one moved. Then Amanda slowly lifted her hands and began wiping the cake from her face. Her eyes were wide, shocked, but not scared. Not yet. She looked at Daniel, who was breathing hard, like he couldn't believe what he'd done either. No apology came. Instead, he mumbled something under his breath and stood up. "Forget it," he said. "Let's go." Amanda didn't move. She looked around the restaurant. Every eye was on her. Some faces showed pity. Others were confused. A few were already filming with their phones. She wiped the last of the frosting from her forehead and slowly stood up. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't even look at Daniel. Without a word, she picked up her clutch, straightened her shoulders, and walked out of the restaurant. Behind her, the buzz of conversation returned. Phones buzzed with messages. Someone whispered, "Did that really just happen?" Outside, the cool night air hit her face. She took a deep breath and pulled out her phone. One of her best friends, Tanya, answered after 2 rings. "Amanda? What's wrong?" Amanda looked at her reflection in the car window. Cake-streaked face, red dress ruined, eyes tired. "Can you come get me?" she asked softly. "Of course. Where are you?" "La Lumiere and Tanya." "Yes? There's video footage," Amanda said, "and I think it's going to go viral." This moment, the cake, the silence, the walk out, was the spark that would change everything. By the next morning, the video had already spread. Someone at the restaurant had posted it online. Within hours, it was everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even news websites. People were furious. How dare he humiliate her like that? He threw cake at her in public? She deserves better. This is abuse. He needs help. Others tried to defend him. It was just a joke. He was angry, not violent. She should have brought her wallet. Men lose control sometimes. But the majority agreed. This was not normal behavior. This was not love. Amanda stayed off social media for the rest of the day. She cried a little, then cleaned herself up. She sat with Tanya and another friend, Lisa, and told them everything. Not just about the cake, but about the years of small hurts, the financial pressure, the growing distance. They listened. They held her hand. They told her she wasn't alone. That night, she sent Daniel a text. "We need to talk, in person." He didn't reply. The next morning, she filed for divorce. The days after Amanda filed for divorce felt like walking through fog. Everything was blurry, slow, and heavy. She had made the decision, but that didn't mean it was easy. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel everything she had been holding back: pain, anger, shame, sadness, and even a little bit of relief. It was over, but the fight was just beginning. A divorce is more than paperwork filing. For divorce is not just about ending a marriage. It's about splitting lives, shared memories, homes, money, and sometimes children. For Amanda, there were no kids, but there were finances, debts, property, and a lot of hurt feelings tangled up in everything. Daniel didn't take the news well. When she finally confronted him in person, he was shocked. "You're really doing this?" he asked, his voice low and confused. "I have to," she said, her eyes tired but firm. "I can't live like this anymore." He tried to talk her out of it. He begged, he apologized. He promised things would change. But Amanda had heard all of this before. She knew that when someone hurts you once, they might do it again. And throwing cake at someone in public wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Still, Daniel refused to sign the papers right away. He wanted to work on things. He hired a lawyer. Suddenly, what could have been a peaceful separation turned into a legal battle. Amanda hired her own lawyer, a strong woman named Mince Carter, no relation, who had helped many women walk away from bad marriages. She told Amanda one thing clearly: "This will get messy before it gets better, but you're not alone." The world weighs. Meanwhile, the video of the cake incident had gone completely viral. It was everywhere. On social media, in news, articles, even being talked about on morning shows. People were sharing screenshots, making memes, writing hot takes. Some were supportive, others were cruel. Why didn't she slap him and walk out sooner? She looked so strong walking out like that. This man needs help. She brought it on herself by not paying the bill. Classic case of male ego. Men think they can treat women however they want. Some comments hurt more than others. Amanda tried not to read them, but sometimes they slipped through. Friends started warning her, "Don't look online, don't check your mentions," but she couldn't ignore it completely. She knew people were watching, talking, judging. That pressure made everything harder. She had always been private. Now the world knew her most embarrassing moment, and some thought they had the right to tell her how to feel about it. Even strangers reached out to her. Some sent kind messages. Others sent threats or insults. One message stood out to her. "You showed us what real strength looks like. Thank you." That one kept her going. Money troubles, as if the emotional pain wasn't enough. The financial part of the divorce hit hard too. Daniel fought Amanda over shared assets. He claimed she had used her money to control him during the marriage. He said she treated him like a burden. His lawyer argued that since Amanda had paid most of the bills, Daniel deserved compensation for staying home and supporting her career. Emotionally, Amanda was stunned. "He thinks I should pay him for being my husband?" she asked Ms. Carter. "It happens more than you'd think," her lawyer replied. "We'll prove otherwise." But proving it meant digging through their entire life together. Every receipt, every text message, every bank statement became evidence. They went through years of data. Amanda had to explain why she paid for the apartment, the car, the groceries, the dinners, the vacations. She had to show that Daniel hadn't contributed much, not because she resented it, but because it was the truth. And worse, Daniel had hidden some debts. Credit cards Amanda didn't know about. Loans taken out in both their names. She had to fight to clear her name. It was exhausting. Emotionally and financially draining. There were nights she cried herself to sleep. Days where she skipped meals because she was too stressed to eat. Moments where she questioned whether she had done the right thing. But then she remembered the cake, the silence, the stares, the humiliation. No one deserves that. Therapy and support one day. Tanya sat her down. "Amanda," she said gently, "you need to start talking to someone." "Like who?" "Like a therapist." Amanda hesitated. She had never been to therapy before. Growing up, mental health wasn't something people talked about openly in her community. People prayed, talked to friends, or just pushed through. But now she realized she couldn't push through alone, so she found a counselor, Dr. Evelyn James, a Black woman who specialized in helping survivors of emotional abuse. At first, Amanda didn't know what to say. She felt silly sitting in a room with someone who didn't know her, telling her secrets. But slowly, week by week, she opened up. She talked about growing up poor, about working twice as hard to be seen, about falling in love with Daniel, thinking he was different, about the small ways he made her feel less than. Dr. James listened. She nodded. She asked questions that made Amanda think deeper. Then one day, she said something that changed everything. "You didn't fail in your marriage. You survived it." Those words hit Amanda like a wave. She began to cry, not because she was sad, but because she finally felt understood. Therapy didn't fix everything overnight, but it gave her tools to heal, to rebuild, and to move forward, without guilt or shame. Finding her tribe. Again. During this time, Amanda also joined a support group for women who had left abusive relationships. Most of them had stories far worse than hers. Some had lived through physical violence. Others had been trapped in marriages for years, raising kids while hiding bruises. Hearing their stories made Amanda realize two things. She was lucky she got out early. She still needed help. In the E group, she met Tasha, a former teacher who had left an emotionally abusive husband after 8 years. Tasha had started a small nonprofit called Stand Tall, which offered counseling, legal help, and safe housing for women escaping abuse. Amanda was inspired. She started volunteering, helping other women file paperwork, sharing her story, offering advice, and in helping others, she began to heal herself. The battle isn't over. But while Amanda was rebuilding her life, Daniel was spiraling. He lost his job at the restaurant after the video went viral. No one wanted to work with a man who publicly humiliated his wife. His reputation was ruined. He tried to make excuses online, said he was under stress, said Amanda controlled him, said the cake was just a joke. People didn't buy it. His followers dropped. Job offers dried up. He moved back in with his parents. One night, he called Amanda drunk. "I'm sorry," he slurred. "I miss you." Amanda didn't answer. She let it go to voicemail. When she checked it later, she deleted it without listening. She had spent years trying to save him. Now she was focused on saving herself. The breaking point: one day, during a court hearing about their finances, Daniel snapped. "This isn't fair," he shouted at the judge. "She controls everything." Amanda sat calmly across the room. She didn't flinch. She didn't react. Her lawyer whispered, "Let him dig his hole deeper." And he did. He ranted about how Amanda treated him like a child, how she made all the decisions, how she never respected him. The judge cut him off. "Sir, this court does not tolerate disrespect, especially toward your ex-spouse. You will calm down, or you will leave." Daniel sat down quietly. He looked around the room. Everyone was watching him, judging him. He realized, in that moment, that no one was on his side. After the hearing, Amanda stepped outside into the sunlight. She took a deep breath. She felt something shift inside her. She wasn't scared anymore. She wasn't angry. She was free. Not fully yet, but getting there. What comes next? The divorce wasn't finalized yet. There were still documents to sign, meetings to attend, and healing to do. But Amanda was starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. She had her friends, her therapist, her support group, her growing role at Stand Tall. Her career was stronger than ever. She was rebuilding her life, one piece at a time. And though the struggle wasn't over, she knew one thing for sure. She would never let anyone throw cake or shame at her again. Amanda stood backstage, adjusting her blazer and taking deep breaths. She could hear the audience clapping as the host walked onto the stage. The bright lights from the studio made shadows dance across the floor. She was about to go on national television. This wasn't something she had planned. A few weeks ago, she was just trying to survive the mess of her divorce and deal with the chaos online. But now here she was, about to tell her full story, not just about the cake incident, but everything that led up to it. The show was called Real Voices. It was a talk show known for giving everyday people a chance to share powerful stories. Amanda had been invited after her viral moment became a symbol of emotional abuse and racial tension in relationships. Her friend Tanya had encouraged her. "You've already gone through so much," she said. "If your story can help even one woman feel less alone, it'll be worth it." Amanda wasn't sure at first. Talking about personal pain on live TV, in front of millions? That sounded terrifying. But then she thought about all the women like her. Women who stayed too long because they were scared, ashamed, or didn't know where to turn. So she said yes. Her moment to speak. Backstage, someone handed her a small earpiece and whispered, "You're on in 5. Amanda nodded, her heart pounding. She looked at herself in the mirror. Not the broken version of herself from the restaurant, not the crying girl hiding behind closed doors. This was Amanda Carter, strong, clear-eyed, and ready to speak her truth. When the host introduced her, the crowd clapped politely. Some people recognized her face from the video. Others were curious why she was there. She walked onto the stage, smiled, and sat down. The host greeted her warmly. "Amanda, thank you for being here." "Thank you for having me," she replied. "I think most of our viewers remember the video. For those who don't, can you tell us what happened?" Amanda took a deep breath. "Yes," she said. "It was our third wedding anniversary dinner. I forgot my wallet. My husband got angry, and in front of everyone, he threw a cake in my face." Gasps came from the audience. Some people covered their mouths. "But that's not the whole story," Amanda continued. And then, for the next 20 minutes, she told them everything. She talked about how Daniel started off charming and kind, but slowly changed over time. She explained how he began making jokes about money, how he stopped contributing, how he tried to control conversations and decisions. She shared how she kept making excuses for him, because she loved him, because she wanted to believe things would get better. She described the nights she cried alone, the times she felt invisible, and the way his temper grew more unpredictable. She didn't hold back. "I used to think I was the problem," she said. "I asked myself, did I push him too hard? Did I act too strong? But I realize now it wasn't me. It was never me." The audience listened in silence. Then she added, "He threw cake at me that night. But the real damage was done long before that moment." By the end of her story, some people in the audience were crying. Others gave her a standing ovation. The host wiped her eyes and said, "Amanda, thank you for sharing this. You've given many people courage tonight." The response is massive. Within hours of the interview airing, social media exploded. Thousands of messages poured into Amanda's inbox. "You're amazing. I'm going through the same thing. Thank you for speaking out. I left my husband last week after watching your video. You saved me." This is exactly what people need to see. They should make a movie about your life. News outlets picked up the story again. Not just the cake, but the deeper issues: emotional abuse, financial control, and how often people dismiss small acts of disrespect until they become big ones. Some mental health organizations reached out to her. So did legal aid groups helping women trapped in bad marriages. One message stood out to her. It was from a woman named Lisa, who wrote, "I saw your interview today. I'm sitting in my car outside a courthouse. I came here to file for divorce, but almost turned around. Then I watched you speak. You reminded me I deserve better. I'm walking in now. Thank you." Amanda read that message 3 times. Tears filled her eyes. She realized something in that moment. She hadn't just survived. She had become a voice for others. The birth of Stand. Tall, inspired by the response, Amanda decided to take action. She met with Tasha again, the founder of Stand Tall. Together, they expanded the nonprofit. They launched a website with resources for women in abusive relationships. They opened a hotline. They partnered with lawyers and therapists who offered free services to survivors. And Amanda started speaking at events. At first, she was nervous. Standing in front of crowds still made her palms sweat. But every time she spoke, more women came forward. Some hugged her afterward. Others simply thanked her for saying what they couldn't. One event in particular changed everything. Amanda was invited to speak at a women's empowerment conference in New York. She stepped onto the stage and looked out at hundreds of faces. She said, "I used to think strength meant staying quiet, holding things together, and pretending everything was okay. Now I know strength means walking away when something isn't right. Strength means speaking up, even when your voice shakes." That speech went viral. Soon, Stand Tall had donors, volunteers, partnerships. And Amanda wasn't just a survivor. anymore. She was a leader. Daniel disappears. Meanwhile, Daniel's life was falling apart. After the court hearing, he lost his job, his reputation, and most of his friends. He tried to post videos defending himself, but no one cared. He sent Amanda a final message. "I'm sorry, I messed up. I hope you find peace." She didn't reply. She had already found peace, not because of him, but because of herself. A new chapter begins. As the months passed, Amanda rebuilt her life. She moved into a new apartment, one she paid for entirely on her own. She got promoted at work. She started dating again, not looking for a savior, but for an equal partner. She met a man named Marcus, a human rights lawyer who believed in her mission. They talked late into the night, laughed easily, built trust slowly. He never tried to fix her, because she wasn't broken. She was healing, and finally, she was happy. A year had passed since Amanda walked out of that restaurant with cake on her face and fire in her heart. Now she stood on a stage in front of hundreds of people. The lights were bright, the music was soft, and the audience was silent, waiting for her to speak. She looked around the room. There were women here from all walks of life, young and old, black and white, rich and poor. Some wore business suits, others came straight from shelters or court hearings. But they all had one thing in common. They had survived something hard, and they were ready to start again. This was the first official Stand Tall conference. The nonprofit Amanda helped grow had become more than just an idea. It was now a full-time organization helping women leave abusive relationships, offering them legal help, therapy, safe housing, and job training. It wasn't about pity. It was about power. And today, Amanda was there to remind everyone what true strength looked like. A voice for the silent. She stepped up to the microphone and smiled. "Good morning," she said softly. The crowd clapped politely. Then she took a deep breath and began. "I used to think strength meant staying quiet, holding things together, and pretending everything was okay. I thought love meant forgiving every mistake, even when it hurt. I thought marriage meant sticking it out no matter how bad things got." She paused. "But then one night, a man threw cake at me in public, and I realized something. The room leaned in. That wasn't just about cake. That was about control, about shame, about being made to feel small by someone who should have made me feel safe." A few women nodded. Some wiped their eyes. "I stayed too long," she continued. "I told myself he would change. I blamed myself for his anger. I let fear keep me stuck." She looked around the room. "But I'm not afraid anymore." The crowd erupted into applause. She waited for it to die down before speaking again. "My name is Amanda Carter. I am not a victim. I am a survivor. And today I stand here not just for myself, but for all of you." The room exploded again, this time with cheers and tears. Amanda smiled through her own tears. "This is why we started Stand Tall, so no woman ever has to feel alone in her pain again." Walker Theory, her life. After the storm, after the interview on national TV, Amanda's life changed forever. She stopped hiding behind makeup and fake smiles. She stopped reading cruel comments online. She stopped apologizing for taking up space. Instead, she focused on rebuilding herself, on her terms. She moved into a new apartment in downtown Atlanta, not because it was fancy, but because it felt like hers. No shared memories, no ghosts of a broken marriage, just fresh beginnings. She got promoted at work. Her boss praised her for her leadership, resilience, and creativity. She became a mentor to younger employees, especially Black women who saw her as proof that success was possible, even after failure. She met Marcus again, a human rights lawyer who believed in justice, equality, and strong women. They didn't rush into anything. They talked, they listened, they laughed. And slowly they built something real. They married 2 years later, not because they needed each other, but because they wanted to. Their wedding was small, just close. Friends, family, and a backyard filled with laughter and soul food. Marcus gave a toast that night. Amanda taught me that love isn't about fixing someone, it's about standing beside them while they heal. Amanda smiled through tears because for the first time in a long time, she felt whole. The book that changed lives. Encouraged by her fans and supporters, Amanda decided to write a book. It wasn't just about her marriage. It was about growing up Black and female in America, about working twice as hard for half the recognition, about falling in love with the wrong person, about finding her voice after years of silence. She titled it, Cake on My Face, Fire in My Soul. The book was raw, honest, and powerful. It became a bestseller within weeks. Women read it and cried. Husbands read it and understood their partners better. Therapists used it in sessions. Schools added it to reading lists. One reader wrote, "Your story made me realize I wasn't crazy. I wasn't weak. I was being controlled. And now I'm getting help." Another message read, "I read your book in one night. Then I packed my bags and left him." That's when Amanda knew she had done something bigger than herself. She had given women permission to walk away, to choose themselves, to believe they deserved better. Daniel's disappearance. Meanwhile, Daniel disappeared from the public eye. After the divorce was finalized, he moved back to Georgia and tried to rebuild his life quietly. He applied for jobs but struggled to find work. His reputation as the cake-throwing husband followed him everywhere. Some people reached out to him, asking if he wanted to share his side of the story. He declined. Once, he sent Amanda a message, "I hope you're happy. You deserve peace." She replied with one sentence, "Peace comes from truth, and you finally let go of the lies." That was the last contact between them. Daniel eventually found work at a small catering company far from the spotlight. He never apologized publicly. He never tried to explain himself again. But he did something important. He stopped trying to rewrite his past, and for the first time, he accepted responsibility. A cultural moment. Amanda's story became more than just a personal journey. It became part of a larger conversation. People started talking more openly about emotional abuse, about financial control, about how men can use humiliation as a tool of power. News outlets ran special reports. Experts weighed in. Influencers shared their own stories. The phrase "cake incident" entered the cultural lexicon, not as a joke, but as a warning sign. That relationship feels like the cake incident. He didn't throw cake, but he threw shade. You don't need physical bruises to know you're being abused. Schools invited Amanda to speak to students about healthy relationships. Colleges included her story in gender studies, classes, and most importantly, women kept coming forward. They weren't ashamed anymore. They weren't hiding. They were telling their truths. Her final words at the end of the Stand Tall conference, Amanda closed the event with a final speech. She looked out at the sea of faces, so many brave women, so many stories still waiting to be told. She smiled. "You all asked me once, 'How did you do it?'" She paused. "How did I walk out of that restaurant? How did I file for divorce? How did I turn pain into purpose?" She looked around the room. The answer is simple. She took a deep breath. "I stopped asking for permission to leave and started giving myself permission to live." The crowd rose to their feet. Applause echoed through the hall. Tears fell. Hope rose. And in that moment, Amanda knew. She had done more than survive. She had created a legacy, not of shame, but of strength.